Okay, so here's another will, or what I am learning, and really happy to be able to share this with you because I'm really happy to have access to these thoughts, um, and a part of sharing this in the moment and sharing it, as I'm learning it, is to provide a glimpse or to provide a glimpse of understanding or just deeper levels of understanding um, into my ability to access this and what would hinder my ability to access this. So, right now, I was just sitting down and I'm just peaceful and I was eating and I'm just going through the itinerary that I've set for today. So, I've got certain things that I've already done that I'll have to check in on, certain things that I want to accomplish today, certain things that I need to focus on, certain priorities. And so I was thinking about that, and then all of a sudden it occurred to me I haven't done or focused on any of my writing. And regarding that really basic and really simple um, manuscript, but the whole premise was to get that manuscript out and then to do the promotion for it and to see if I can generate some finances and some income off of that to continue or to meet those needs and to continue with like the thought that I had. So it's important that I see that thought through to fruition. And part of seeing that thought through to fruition is keeping it as a priority and remaining consistent. So consistency is a variable that has to be it it will be evident behind the scenes of every successful event or every successful endeavor. And I was just thinking, whoa, wait a second, why haven't I kept up with this? And then I thought, the one variable that's changed substantially is going back to the constant discussions that I've had, primarily last week, where it's flip flop, where one day I'm told I can be here, no problems at all. Then the next day, or within 24 hours, I'm being like, there's that aggression coming at me, and I'm being told, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. We don't want you here. And that pressure. But with those like conversations, these are not 10-minute, 15-minute conversations. These are an hour and a half conversations. And then they cause me to have to shift all my priorities. And then not only are these an hour and a half conversations, but I'm trying to learn in the moment. So I'm trying to capture these things as they occur in the moment. And since I have the ability, when I'm at work, say if like a boss is abusing their power, or maybe they've said like they've spoken words of abuse or aggression or manipulation, and I desire to capture these things in the moment so I can capture how you feel, how it inspires you to feel, what is going on in the moment in terms of what interruptions does it create inside of you, inside of your ability to properly do your job. You know, do other people see this? Like, to provide as much information as possible, so the listeners or the reading audience, the watching audience, can actually derive some pertinent information and good information that is otherwise unavailable because people do not have access to, first and foremost, maybe their thoughts and their feelings when they're being aggressed or attacked, but also they do not have the ability just to take a time out and then go for a walk to the hill and then sit down and detail the situation and detail it with as much information as possible that's clear, concise, but that that reveals the actuality of what took place, both from your perspective and from what you said and what they said, and then also moving forward to detail, since they said this, now I feel awkward here. Since they said this, now I don't feel as comfortable saying this. Since they said this, now I feel pressured for this and for that. And this will provide a lot of really good information into the root cause of certain behavioral or behaviors and patterns of behaviors that puzzle many people. And then those patterns of behavior that not only puzzle many people, but then people just they make their hypotheses. They make educated guesses on this could be this, they could be that, it could be this, they could be that. And then it goes to the whole premise that I was talking about before. With every misdiagnosis, always results in a misprognosis. Every misdiagnosis will actually take you away from, the cause of, the symptom that you're witnessing. So this is the value that I see in doing this. This is I feel that this can really, really help provide more clear information, more relevant information, to help folks to challenge the thought process or the hypothesis and the hypotheses that they currently have, and then to provide like a better understanding, so then people can actually help. So then proper and adequate changes can be made. If there's issues that are occurring and, say abuse is occurring behind closed doors, however it often remains obscured, the best thing you can do is have a camera that has the audio there. So no matter what the person says, you can actually check the footage and then say, oh, well, like they lied here, here, and here. There is truth and relevancy in what this person said. Now we're going to make our choices, because we now see the truth as opposed to the illusion that person is trying to speak in order to virtually, cover up their tracks so they can continue those patterns of abuse without being accountable or responsible, and then everybody suffers. So anyway, so I think this is wonderful. And so I think this is also wonderful right now. So one of the other things that, as I mentioned, that took up a lot of time is, after those situations occur, I went to the Hill and I talked about it. And then I did other videos where I talked about it. It's very time consuming, extremely time consuming. But those things, I'm dealing with them as they're coming up. I'm shifting priorities as priorities are shifted. And the one thing I noted is when I was sitting there at the table several minutes ago, I was thinking, well, wait a second, why am I not keeping up with, because even if I just do an hour or 2 hours of writing every day, it adds up quickly. And as long as like the time that I'm spending is with heightened focus, and I have like a list, and I keep myself organized, meaning these are the things that I desire to get done. Okay, I did this much today on this. Now tomorrow I'll continue here, and then I'll do that. Then tomorrow I did that much that day, and then now I'm here. So it's being tracked. The progress is being tracked, but it's also being documented. So I'm not just it's a concerted, it's a focused effort. And with a focused effort, you can get focused results. Focused results are much better than results that just come from just going in there and arbitrarily doing this and doing that. A lot of good learning lessons from this. But also too, it's not just the matter of the productivity, but it's also ensuring that these things remain a priority. So ensuring that I'm always keeping a minimal of 1 or 2 hours of time allotted to something that I say is very important to me, a priority. And so anyway, so I know that the contrarian perspective for many folks will be that you're in a bad situation, your full-time job is to get a job. I get that. You're in a bad situation, your full-time job is to get the next apartment. I get that, and I can be 100% accountable and responsible for those things as well. You're in a bad predicament. Your full-time job is to ensure all your stuff is packed up and you're ready to go, just like that. No, I get that, most certainly. Henceforth, having a list though, like there's 24 hours in the day. If I've already slept for 8 hours of those days, well then that leaves 16 hours. In those 16 hours, I can't just, like the whole 16 hours would not be designated to, all the things that were just mentioned. If I'm on top of the job search, then the job search, if I do it effectively and efficiently, so the goal for me is always to be effective and efficient. It's never to say, I know I'm productive because I put in all this work today. I put in 3 or 4 hours worth of looking for a job. Well, if I could do that, if I could cover the same amount of ground and get the resumes and the cover letters out, in the same, the resumes and cover letters out you know, in a fraction of that time. Well, just because I was busy does not mean I was productive. There's a major difference, and it's wise for me to understand that. And it's also wise for me to not get sucked into the pressure that comes from other people who do not have that understanding. They're going to try and enforce and push like their ideals and their thoughts onto me, and they're going to do it from a stance of fear because that's all they know. But it's wise to understand, okay, from this perspective, I can listen to what you're saying, but it doesn't mean I have to permit it to come into my heart or into my life. It doesn't mean I have to adopt it. And then when people get angry and then they start using it against me, well, I told you should be doing this and this and this. That's just them putting pressure on me, trying to force me to do something or to take the advice that they've given. So there's a lot of good learning lessons from this and from this side. Once again, I point back to all the videos where I talked about you're actually in a really good situation when you're impoverished, when you're at the bottom, when you're at the when you're like in the like at an entry level position at a company. You can learn the most when you're in the position of the least amount of influence. People will treat you the way they truly are, and the contents of their heart will actually be on full display. If not full display, on a greater level of display. As you move up, people will treat you differently, and it has nothing to do with you, but it has to do with everything that they can get from you, because they're living in a reality where they have everybody ranked, in accordance to what they can do for them and what value they have. And some people they can talk down to, some people they can't. Where somebody who's whole and complete, they treat everybody the exact same way. So anyway, so this is a wonderful learning lesson. All those things, they consume a lot of time, so it actually turns out to be counterproductive and highly counterintuitive to be subjected to personalities that are constantly arguing, that are constantly trying to force their thoughts on you, but are also flip-flop, make a promise one day, break it the next day. And then if you go to talk to them, they're not reasonable about it. They'll say, okay, nope, no problem at all, we talked about this. Then the next day, an emotional state, so this is something that's already been identified, an emotional state is triggered within them, and it's been identified, like the cause or the windows for these emotional states. And then in that emotional state, they start and with those charged emotions, they start making choices. They start making making demands, and they're doing them from a state of instability, and it greatly impacts the people around them, or it has the potential to have a great impact on the people around them. And then the choices that they make in those states are not choices that they feel comfortable with when they're settled. And that is evident by the conversations that we've had where, afterwards, like, for example, my mother is saying, well, like, why are you sleeping? Like, why are you not sleeping here? That makes no sense. I get that. I understand that. But, now she understands it, and now she's able to speak that. But I don't think she understands the root of it. But that's not for me to, like, that's for her. That's on her side. Okay, so, we're just going with that example that I gave, like 16 hours in a day. Well, here, 1 second, I gotta move here.